On January 20th, 2022, I uploaded the hardest video I've ever had to make in my entire 13-year-long YouTube career. I finally came out as being a trans girl. The road to get to that point was very long and complicated, as you can imagine. I've always had questions and insecurities about my sexuality and gender when I was a kid, but growing up, I did not have any exposure to any queer culture at all. Anytime queer people were discussed, it was always in hush-hush terms, and it was always derogatory. When I was in middle school, I was questioning my sexuality, and before I could even understand who I was or what I liked, I was forced out of the closet for everyone around me to see. Rumors would spread around school like wildfire, and I would get treated even worse than I already was. I would then come home to a family that didn't understand the gravity of what they were doing, and a family that had no idea what to do with their queer offspring. To say I spent a majority of my life by myself would be a drastic understatement. When you lean on yourself so much, you forget what it feels like to actually be able to lean on others and open up. My childhood is something I always look back on in kind of sadness, and I desperately wish I could just go back and comfort that young, confused girl that really needed it. Me being forced out of the closet, how I was treated at school for my entire school career until my last years of high school, and being surrounded by family that didn't understand me at all, led me to attempt to take my life in those middle school years. Trying to attempt at such a young age is always a giant red flag and shows how much I was struggling. Of course, my family, except for my dad, would never know or hear about any of this. Thus, due to all this, I still, even as an adult, have a really hard time opening up to others. When I actually got into my first relationship, it felt so validating to finally be seen by someone. But there was something lurking in the background. Something I didn't quite understand. She would talk about how she wanted me to be the guy and her to be the girl of the relationship. Under normal circumstances, this should be fine, but that idea that I had to be a guy really bothered me. And it bothered me how much it bothered me. I mean, that's normal, right? That's how relationships work. She's a girl, I thought I was a guy, so why does it bother me so much? Why is this actually getting to me? If I was still content with being a guy, why would all this bother me? And then just like that, it hit me. I was never content with being a guy. I started thinking about how I've been as a person up until that point, and the more I thought about it, the more signs I started noticing. Every time I've tried to force myself in that gender binary, the more uncomfortable I got, the more depressed I got, I tried being more masculine, tried not being uncomfortable being in the male restrooms. I tried acting like one of the bros, and nothing worked. All of it felt so forced, and I was never comfortable with any of it or myself. I always knew I didn't like being a guy, but I didn't realize the extent of it until that point. I had no idea what to do. I swore up and down to myself that I wasn't trans, but I knew the only reason I was doing that was due to everyone around me probably not understanding or accepting it if I did tell them. Me and the person I was with would eventually break up, and after that point is when I decided to really evaluate myself and try to figure out just what's going on here. I would slowly try wearing feminine clothing behind closed doors, and oh my god, I actually liked it? Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. My fears were starting to become real. Although despite how scared I was of the future, I still loved how I felt in those clothes. Now, obviously, just because you like to wear women's clothing, that doesn't automatically mean you're trans. You could be something else, or a femboy, or an MB, non-binary. Obviously, that kind of goes without saying, because I know someone in the comments or someone watching this is going to think that, but obviously, as time goes on, I would figure out, who I am as a person, my gender. So I wanted to clear that up, because I know someone out there is going to think that, but anyways. It's time for me to talk about my old living situation. When I would start to play around with my clothing choices and evaluate my gender identity, I was still living in an environment where people like me were looked down upon. Once I finally opened up about me wanting to wear feminine clothing, it was not taken well. I was told I had to change clothes in the car, I couldn't wear anything like that around the house. Anything remotely feminine, I had to either hide or completely remove. It was the reaction I expected. No matter if it was as small as my nails being painted, or me wearing anything that could be perceived as being feminine, I had to hide it. I already felt like I had no one to lean on or talk to, but now that feeling was greatly amplified. I was so alone. This is going to be kind of embarrassing for me to admit this out loud in a video that's going to be public, but I even sometimes hugged the clothes in my closet just to feel some sort of comfort, even if it was fake. I would always wear a hoodie over what I was actually wearing. When I got to my car, I would take it off. My old dysphoria hoodie. You guys remember the Rayman hoodie? Yeah, that was my dysphoria hoodie. I always felt like I was walking on eggshells, always having to stay in my room out of fear. It's sad that I felt more at ease wearing feminine clothing out in public than I did at home. Everything reached a boiling point eventually. I felt I couldn't take it anymore. I legitimately believed it would be better if I didn't exist. For years, I already contemplated suicide off and on, but this time around I thought I was going to go through with it. After all, it's not like I've never attempted before, so I thought I would just be finishing what I started so long ago. One attempt involved me jumping from a bridge, but I feared it wasn't high enough. But that didn't stop me from going by it one night, constantly driving back and forth by it, until I stopped my car in the middle of the road and cried my eyes out. I didn't even care that I was in the middle of the road. I just didn't care if I got hurt. My last attempt I made was one night I was by myself, and I planned to shoot myself. I had it all planned out, and knew when and how I was going to do it. That night, after I got home from work, thinking about it all day, non-stop, I then had a breakdown that would last hours. Hours of non-stop crying, holding a gun in my hand, sometimes pointing it at my head, just ready to leave. It scared me how serious I was about this. I had my finger on the trigger. After hours of trying to calm myself down and telling myself that I could not go through with this, I eventually calmed down. I remember sitting in my room, blankly staring at the wall, thinking to myself, I almost killed myself again. That night was probably the biggest release of emotion I think I've ever experienced in my entire life. I've never cried so much in one day before. Next day, I just went back to work like nothing ever happened. After my last attempt, I would experience a medical episode that would leave me bedridden for a week. My neck spine would be in a lot of pain, couldn't walk or move, my fingers would stop working, body parts would go numb, I would constantly throw up. It was awful. When I was experiencing this, I remember being on the porch on all fours in horrible pain. I remember him standing over me, telling me that I was just exaggerating. It didn't surprise me that he would say something like that. I was hospitalized, and there, I would open up about my mental health and what was going on at home. I was sent to a mental health facility for a week. Some people were worried, but I'd rather be there than go back to the fires back home. When I was there, I decided to finally start telling people that yes, I am trans. I remember telling the therapist I talked to, and when I did, I could physically feel how hard I was smiling. I often got asked by some of the nice people there if I decided on a name yet, and I hadn't. I knew after I got back I would properly come out, and I did. I was incredibly scared for obvious reasons. Once I got back, one night, he had a talk with me, and we got into an argument. He would berate me, ask me why I can't just accept that I was a boy. This was all over me wearing a bra, by the way. He claimed I would be the reason that him and my mom would break up if they ever did, and anything I did in my body or clothes I wore was his business because it's his house. It got pretty intense. He then asked me what the hell even was I then, and I just froze. I wasn't out yet, and I was not about to be forced out of the closet the second time in my life by someone else. I did the only thing I could think of to do. I stood there and said nothing. I wasn't about to give him anything. If I was going to come out, it was going to be on my terms, not his. That's what we in the business call a fucking power move. He told me if I was going to be trans, then I could be homeless for all he cares, and he told me I had a month to find somewhere else to stay. I said fine. I went to my room and cried my eyes out. Later on, I will come out on my own terms. I figured there was nothing he could do about it since he was kicking me out anyways, so fuck it. After that night, I didn't want anything to do with him, and I didn't care what he thought anymore. I knew after that night, he was not going to be in my life. Everyone started finding out as I began to tell everyone. Eris was the name I went with, and I really liked that name. I thought it was very pretty. I was so overjoyed to see people refer to me with my new name, and seeing people call me a girl. It was so surreal. Every time I would hear her, I would get the biggest grin on my face. I still do to this day. I would bust my ass and save money for the move, and a month later, I was out. I was finally out. I didn't have to deal with his shit ever again. I had my own safe space that could truly call my home. I lived in a shared condo with friends and my mom, and I had my own separate space. To say that I was happy would be a gross understatement. It truly felt like I was happy for the very first time. I cried a lot during that time period. It all just felt so surreal. I still look back on that time period with fondness. Everything just felt different after that, you know? Like, I was just enjoying all the little things and smiling a lot more. As of right now, I am not in the condo because the people I live with wanted to move due to rent going up by a lot. I was there for less than a year. I got a place with my mom since she needed a place to live too, since she was breaking up with them. Just like I knew, I was not the problem all along, and after I left, yeah, their relationship got worse. And yeah, here we are. Ever since then, I've been practicing voice training. I haven't started transitioning physically due to me not having insurance right now, but I really want to, obviously, as soon as possible. My voice definitely has changed in the past year, and it's so weird to look back on older videos now. I've gotten better at doing makeup, and my fashion sense has gotten better. I have a long way to go, obviously, but I'm sure one day I'll be the most authentic version of myself that's mature, emotionally open, and beautiful. Still love Sonic probably, that'll never change. I'm so proud of the person I'm becoming. I'm stronger now than I've ever been in my entire life. It's crazy to think just 2 years ago, I almost threw it all away, but I'm so glad I didn't give up. If you found yourself in a position of wanting to give up, like I was in, please don't. Even if you can't see it now, I promise you things can and will get better. It may take a while, and it might not be obvious when it gets here, but it will get here. The road will be arduous. You'll have to face your fears, but your future self will thank you. People around you will marvel about how brave you are to be able to put all of yourself out there for everyone to see, despite all the judgment. We'll all get there, I'm sure. I want to once again thank everyone that has been supportive of my transness, and to everyone that hasn't been, well, nothing can be done about people like you, and I do not want you here. I saw people arguing about my gender in the comments of my coming out video, claiming I quote-unquote switched sides, or they missed the old me, said they thought I was cool but now they don't, or whatever the fuck. I want to directly address these people, and they know exactly who they are. Let this be known, my gender is not up for debate. It's not something you can argue. I am who I am, and how dare those people try to say who I really am when they don't know a fucking thing about me personally. Now, you can assume things about people by watching their videos, but you don't know them personally. No, this doesn't mean you've grown attached to a quote-unquote fake person, or that I'm a completely different person now. Because no, that's not true either. You are simply learning more about a person when they come out. That's it. They haven't changed at all. That person is just opening up about complex feelings that they've been trying to hide, but it just became too painful to hide them anymore. I expect this video will also get tons of transphobic comments, but at this point I think most of the people that had a problem with it have left. Good fucking riddance. To all my beautiful trans people out there, fighting to be you every day, keep being you. Don't let the world tell you you're broken, or that there's something wrong with you. I used to be ashamed and was gaslit to believe that I was always the problem, but I and other trans people aren't a problem just existing. As each year passes, I'll continue to grow into the person I was always meant to be. I'm sure you will as well. I hope you all enjoyed this very personal video. Probably the most personal video I've ever made on the channel. I apologize for some of the heavy topics I had to cover in this. I hope I can get this video out before the year ends. I don't really know how to end videos. I've always been pretty terrible at it. But I hope you all enjoyed it. And yeah, I thought this was a really cute video. Also, shouts to DAClassicGamer once again for making the cool thumbnail artwork. It is super cute and I love it. It's so wholesome and awesome. And I love it so much. So, shouts to DAClassicGamer, of course, as usual. He did the artwork for the thumbnail, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. So, I hope you all enjoyed this very personal video, and that's about it. Maybe I'll make a 2 years later thing or something. I don't know. But this video was very late. I actually originally planned or started the script around Pride Month, and it's December. The reason being is that like this script, this video as well, was extremely hard to make for me. This script was very on and off because there are many times when I was writing this that I would just cry my eyes out because of all the things I was covering. So actual tears went into the making of this video, like dead ass. So that's why this took so long. This was originally supposed to come out months ago, but yeah, this script was extremely difficult for me to write though. But I hope you all enjoyed it. Me being so open and emotionally vulnerable, I guess, in front of you all. But yeah, that's about it. I'm done. Go tell your trans peeps that you love them. That's about it for me though. I might make a 2-year later video or something. This is Eris, UltimateDSfan, signing off. Thanks for watching.